Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today it feels like the time to talk about this man on screen here, Jadon Sancho, and his pre-season performances. But not only his performance in terms of level of quality which he is producing, but more so the role in which he is playing, the position that Ten Hag is using him in. And that is because Ten Hag has been using Jadon Sancho as a false nine thus far in pre-season. As we can see here, he has been leading the line for the Manchester United attack in pretty much every game so far. So the question is, why is Ten Hag doing it? Well, to give a quick answer, it seems like this is the reason he is doing it. Because he said this: I think Jadon is best in central positions when he is involved, but also in wide areas. So Ten Hag wants to try and get Jadon Sancho in a central area where he also has a bit of license to roam about. And this position here in the team as a false nine clearly looks like it gives him the ability to do that. And I think Jadon Sancho has a lot of the skill set of what you need of this position. We all know that he has really good close control, tight control in congested areas. When he's surrounded by three players, he's one of these players who has a really good ability to keep the ball for his side. He's also really good with his link play, his short passing in and around the final third is very good, and he is at his best when he has runners in and around him. However, as Ten Hag said here in this quote, he also likes to move wide from this central position as well. So not only can he perhaps drop deep and get the ball and overload the midfield, but he can also move wide into these areas. So, Jadon Sancho looks like he has a lot of the tools of being a false nine. Before we continue into the video, I want to talk to you guys about today's video sponsor, the Football Shirt Club, who kindly sent me this mystery box for me to try out for myself. And as you guys would have seen in recent videos, it allowed me to get this lovely PSV shirt. On top of that, we also got some really nice playing cards as well. Now, I can't quite show you the quality of these on camera, but trust me, they really are really nice quality. You can see we've got Marcus Rashford there. We also got a really nice information card as well, which you can read there. You can pause it if you want to read it. I will be reading it later. But it kind of tells you all about the kit and the team that are wearing it. And genuinely all round, it's just really high quality. It's a brilliant service, which I really highly recommend. If you guys want to check it out, you can use the link in the description down below. I know for sure I will be getting myself another mystery box. And who knows, maybe one day one of those shirts will go in one of those frames up there. If you want to check it out, use the link in the description down below, and also use code AJ10 on your order for a lovely little discount. He also has the shot map of a false nine type player, someone who wants to get into the penalty area and take his shots from there. When he plays on the wing, it doesn't allow him to do this as much. When he plays on the wing, you're often facing much more physical but particularly athletic fullbacks. For example, if Jadon Sancho is up against someone like Kyle Walker at right back, Jadon Sancho really struggles because he doesn't have the skill or the speed to beat Kyle Walker with raw pace. So therefore, he has to slow the play down and come inside a little bit. And that is where people get frustrated. Whereas when he is playing through the middle, one, he probably is quicker than most centre-backs. He isn't the quickest forward in the world, but he's probably quicker than most centre-backs in the Premier League. But he's also very technical, good at keeping the ball and bringing others into the play. So for example, as a false nine, when you are asked to drop into midfield to create the overload, we know that is something which Sancho is able to do. We also know that this is something which Ten Hag has asked of one of his players before. If you go back to his time at Ajax, he regularly asked Dusan Tadic to play as a false nine. A player who kind of traditionally was a creative player, a bit of a creative winger who again didn't have the raw speed or dribbling ability to really excel or be elite in that position. So Ten Hag moved him into more of a striker or a false nine position, and it looks like he might be trying something similar with Jadon Sancho. So we need to talk about what are the strengths of this, what are the benefits, what are the weaknesses of Jadon Sancho in this position, can it work, is it really enough for Manchester United in this area, and then also we will look at some scenarios from the pre-season game against Arsenal, because Ten Hag seemed to be pretty pleased with that performance. So, let's just get started with kind of the tactical side of the game. What is the benefit of having a false nine in your team? Because false nines aren't really about in football at the moment. If you rewind 3, maybe 4 seasons ago, there were several of them. Bernardo Silva often played as a false nine for Manchester City. Phil Foden done it as well. But recently, we've seen more of a traditional number 9, which has made people kind of forget about the false nine a little bit. So what is the benefit of a false nine? Well, the first thing is the ability to overload the midfield, and this was something we actually saw against Real Madrid. The other day against Real Madrid, Marcus Rashford played up front for the first half, and with Madrid playing a diamond in midfield, United kind of got overwhelmed and overloaded in this area, and Rashford wasn't really the player to help with that. In the second half, however, Jadon Sancho came on and played as a false nine striker, someone who dropped into this position to now match up the midfield, and instantly Manchester United's performances improved, so Sancho could certainly help in certain scenarios in this sort of position. Now, before we continue, probably something I should explain is that I don't think Jadon Sancho should be Manchester United's starting false nine and be the striker for this season, but as an option from the bench, the ability to change things from a tactical point of view, it could work, because it does allow you to thrive in certain different areas. Something else it does, as well as creating this midfield overload, is it allows room for runners from a few different positions. For example, if you want to play on the counter-attack, and we know that Ten Hag loves a transition, then having someone like Jadon Sancho, who is willing to drop into these areas here and drag defenders, creates a lot of room for runners in and around you. If we're talking about maybe having someone like Marcus Rashford running in from this position, Rasmus Højlund, if he was to sign for the club, could he maybe play in a slightly wider area or an inside forward in certain games? That could be possible. Jadon Sancho dropping deep, kind of drawing this centre-back in, creating the space in behind for Rashford to exploit, could work really, really well, and it would be an excellent way of creating space for others. He's also not only able to create space for others, but he's also allowed to help other players. For example, when Marcus Rashford gets a ball in a situation like this, there's a chance that because he's such a good player, opposition use two defenders on him. They double up on him to stop him kind of getting through. Having someone like Jadon Sancho, rather than a traditional number 9, allows you to have this player kind of drift over there, probably the best word for it. Drift over there and kind of help your teammate out, and you could also do it on the other side as well. That is the benefit of Sancho as your false 9, rather than a traditional striker. Sancho has played on both wings for Manchester United, so he's more than capable of dropping into these positions to pick up the ball. Now, what this also does is it makes room for runners from other positions. Now, we've already spoken about the ability to open up space for someone like Marcus Rashford to attack, but what about higher up the pitch in the penalty area? For example, when Manchester United have an attack like this, and we're going to see perhaps Antony's got the ball on the right wing in this sort of area. He's up against his fullback in a 1 versus 1, and Jadon Sancho is being marshalled by those in the middle. But if Jadon Sancho, rather than playing like a traditional 9, instead moves into this position and perhaps drag a centre-back, this then leaves room for runners, other people. Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount in particular really could take advantage of that, because this is two players which like to make runs off the ball forward late into the penalty area. Mason Mount more to shoot from the edge of the box. Bruno Fernandes really likes to get in the penalty area and be in the thick of it. Having someone like Jadon Sancho once again could allow you to do that. Someone like Sancho up front also allows you to control possession. Some of these big typical number 9s, they're very good at putting the ball in the back of the net, but their first touch is a little bit poor and the ball will often bounce off them, and that will be the end of your attack. That isn't as likely with someone like Jadon Sancho. So if Ten Hag wants this football where United are kind of keeping the ball and keeping it ticking over in the final third, Sancho would be a really good player for that, because of his technical security in tight spaces like we've spoken about already. It would allow United at times to go into the feet of Jadon Sancho, who then kind of maybe comes out, dribbles with the ball backwards a little bit, and then lays the ball off to someone else before making a move into a different position. But this would be a way in which United can recycle possession, rather than just forcing it forward and losing it, or taking a poor touch. Someone like Sancho would help them in this area. And that is kind of the real strengths of this. On the counter-attack, he could be a player which drops deep to hold up the ball, or he could make space in behind for someone like Marcus Rashford to run onto. We've seen that he can help deal with overloads in the centre of the park with his ability to drop deeper into the midfield, where he can quickly turn a 3 versus 4 situation into a 4 versus 4, helping United in this area of the pitch. But then in the final third, he could be very effective as well, either drifting out wide to help his wingers kind of isolate fullbacks and really hurt the opposition, combining and creating overloads in these areas, or he can move into more central positions where perhaps he's making room for someone like Mason Mount or Bruno Fernandes, and he has the ability also to just nicely keep things ticking over for his team to keep the ball for Manchester United. And all that is very, very good. However, there is one problem. If Jadon Sancho is playing as a striker, you need goals. Does Jadon Sancho bring you goals? Not so far in his Manchester United career. Jadon Sancho is not a typical goal scorer. Now, that might be a little bit harsh because his numbers for Borussia Dortmund in the last couple of seasons before he moved to United were genuinely really impressive, really incredible. And if you saw his finish against Arsenal the other day, you would see a sharpness to his game and a really emphatic, confident finish. However, I don't think you could fool anyone into thinking that this is a box striker, you know, a poacher, a number 9, a fox in the box, someone who's going to sniff chances and get you 20 goals a season. Jadon Sancho isn't that, and Manchester United perhaps need that, and that is my concern here. That is why I think it probably works if you sign someone like Rasmus Højlund. For example, Rasmus Højlund starts most of the games up front as your focal point, a true number 9, leading the attack, spearheading the attack. But then in certain games where you're worried about an overload in midfield or something like that, or you just want something a little bit different, Jadon Sancho could really be very, very useful because he offers a different skill set. a bit similar to Anthony Martial, who of course is always injured. Having someone like Sancho could bring a similar skill set to what Martial did, and we know that Martial at his best has brought some of the best football from this Manchester United side over the past 3 seasons, so maybe Sancho in spells could do something similar. So, as always, there's pluses and minuses to this, there's strengths and weaknesses. We can see the strengths. He's a technical player, he's good in tight spaces, and it allows him to get in the team. He can help his wingers, he can help his midfielders to score more goals. But the weakness, ultimately, is that he probably isn't going to get you the goals himself, and that's kind of where we're at this moment in time. Before we leave, I also quickly want to check out some clips from the game against Arsenal using Once Video Analyzer Pro. Really good video analysis software which you guys can check out using the link in the description down below. I highly recommend it. But this is Jadon Sancho playing as the false 9 against Arsenal last Saturday, so about a week ago now. He's playing in this position here. Now what does he do on this occasion? He drops deep, he gets the ball in midfield, helps United hold the ball up. So United have just been defending and they're trying to get out, basically kind of relief pressure on themselves. Jadon Sancho's feet are a brilliant way of doing that. And there was a few clips from this game where he was doing this sort of thing. Something else that he was doing was drawing a lot of fouls. He was fouled a lot in this game, and it's because of his ability to drop deep, get the ball in this position, and kind of entice the opposition in with his touch, and then at the last second he just nicks it away. It draws the foul, and it was really effective in this game. We've got several scenarios of it. I believe on this one here, once again he was fouled, the ball comes into his feet from Aaron Wan-Bissaka with a good pass. Jadon Sancho is going to come in and protect the ball, kind of turns Gabriel, who hacks him down basically, wins Manchester United the free kick. But again, you're relieving pressure for your side. You're going long to Sancho, he's protecting the ball and getting United up the pitch, gaining yard basically, gaining territory of the football pitch. Here we can see something similar once again. He's in the middle of the park and Gabriel is going to try his best to foul him. We can see here the example of making room for runners. We can see there's 2 players here really benefiting from Sancho's positioning. And once again, he was dragged down and fouled, winning United territory of the football pitch. And then also, we have something similar once again here. He's dropping deep with the ball. People are hacking at him, hacking at his ankles constantly. Now, at times, something which would be concerning would be his strength. Can he really protect the ball against the most physical defenders? That would be a concern. But from a technical point of view, he does look like someone who could operate in this false 9 position. And like I said earlier, some of the reason for that is because of his ability to do this. The ability to pick the ball up in this sort of area where he's dropped a little bit deeper and now he's going to move out wide. Show those winger traits, which he's showed for so long in his career, particularly in the earlier days, getting into these wide positions, where again he offers something just a little bit different for Manchester United. Now on this occasion it doesn't really come to anything, but you can imagine if he had a runner through the heart of the defence in this sort of area, it could have turned into a really dangerous situation. And the same applies to this sort of area here, where once again Jadon Sancho has got the ball wide on the right hand side. He's already carried it several yards and he's going to continue to do so. Now unfortunately for him, he becomes incredibly isolated in this scenario. And once again, it doesn't really lead to anything. But as the United players become a bit sharper and perhaps more used to playing with a false 9, perhaps we would see someone, maybe a Bruno Fernandes, a Mason Mount, whoever may be on the pitch at the time, making these runs into these open areas which Sancho has created. So that is certainly how it could work, and there is a slight example of it here. Here we can see that he's pushed into the final third, but this time he's in the channel in this space here. But if you look at Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, they're both taking advantage of that. And Manchester United actually have the overload in this attack, because just behind me at the bottom here is Garnacho. So United have 5 players in the attack, up against the 4 Arsenal defenders, and Sancho's movement does drag players out of position. Eventually he gets the ball in this situation, tries to cut the ball back, but we can see the runners in the box, and this happens because of Sancho's movement. So it's certainly something to consider moving forward. Again, I think at times he's probably a bit too calm on the ball, a little bit too relaxed. He's clearly very technical, but at times it feels like he knows he's technical and therefore kind of lapse in concentration a little bit. He takes it a little bit too easy, he relaxes too much and does lose the ball, which is something which would need to be fixed up if he was to be a false 9. Because if he isn't going to offer you the goals, he really needs to offer you the rest of everything else. But those are basically my thoughts on it at this moment in time. Of course, it's only pre-season. Ten Hag might just be experimenting and he might completely abandon this as soon as we get to the start of the season, or as soon as a new striker is signed, someone like Rasmus Højlund, Harry Kane, Taremi, whoever it may be. However, I think Jadon Sancho has shown that he could offer something to this United squad as a false 9, something different. When Ten Hag needs something different from a tactical point of view, when he doesn't want an outlet, a runner, a focal point, but someone a little bit more crafty, Jadon Sancho could certainly offer that, so I would keep an eye on it in the coming weeks and throughout the season. But nearly out of breath. I think that is that for today's video. Now I want to hear your thoughts, because Jadon Sancho is a player which these days unfortunately divides opinion. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think he has the skill set to be a false 9, or do you not think he scores enough goals? Do you think it could be something which United use full time? Could he be the starting striker as a false 9? Or do you think, like me, it's probably better as an alternative, a kind of a plan B? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.